visit our channel. Let's go!
Hello friends, Moose Processing 2.0 is gonna start right back here. We decided this year that we are going to do something with the bones. We are going to attempt to make bone broth. It seems like it's a bit of a process. I've got a caveman there behind me, but we're gonna give it a try. So the first thing is we have frozen these bones because we heard they're easier to cut if they're frozen, and now we are going to attempt to cut them into pieces so that we can roast them, and then we're gonna pressure cook them, and then we're gonna pressure cook the broth. So it's gonna be a little bit of a process, but we have some other moose projects to go along with it. So come along for Moose Processing 2.0.
Bone.
There's a lot of marrow in there.
Oh yeah, tons. Yum. Look at that.
So what are these bones?
These are the bones of the back leg of one moose. So this one.
Those are about the only bones that end up coming out of the field with you, right?
Yeah. Because so this is the femur of the moose, and then this is the forearm or whatever, the next bone down.
Okay. If you saw our original moose video when Mark and Hunter got back from hunting, you might have seen that we had two moose hanging out in our yard. It was a mom and her baby, and they got into the raspberries, and let me show you the damage they did. If you look at these, let me show you when that's normal. Okay, so like, it's hard to find a normal one because they did so much damage. Anyways, you'll get the gist. You see these? I just watched her just bite and just strip the leaves off of plant after plant after plant. You'll see, you may notice, we don't have a lot of green leaves left, so I think this was like a buffet for them, having green leaves. So like this is what it normally looks like right here. And so she just, we even still have some fruit on here, but man, they got it everywhere through here. This plant is stripped, this plant is stripped, this plant is stripped. They just went up and down. Luckily they didn't seem to do too much damage like stepping on plants. They just snacked on the tops of all of these, and now I'm snacking. Good morning, friends. I am embarking on the journey of processing these moose bones. So we are gonna try and make this bone broth that we will then in the future use to make soups and stews and gravies and things like that. So the first step, to my understanding, is that we're gonna roast these. I guess that just improves the flavor. And then we'll get them into the pressure cookers for the afternoon. According to my research, bone broth is distinguished from stock because it is cooked longer, allowing more nutrients to come out and make a protein-rich broth. Bone broth is said to have many amazing properties. Bone broth contains collagen, a structural protein found in skin, cartilage, and bone. When boiled, the collagen in connective tissue is broken down into gelatin and various other health-promoting amino acids, which are great for your body. Gelatin is the most abundant protein in bone broth. Once in the digestive tract, gelatin binds with water to support healthy movement of food through the intestines. It is also said to help with joint function, immune health, and better sleep. For all of these reasons and many more that I found while researching, I thought this could be a great addition to our pantry. The bones have baked for about 25-30 minutes. Next step is using these pressure canners to cook the bones. This one we are borrowing from a friend, the other one is ours. I just wanted to get this done in one fell swoop. When I was reading about making bone broth, you can boil them on the stovetop, but it's said to boil them for 24 to 48 hours. And I thought, oh my gosh, our house is gonna be smelly, and that's a lot of gas to run for 24 hours. If we do them in the pressure cooker, we can do them for about 2 to 3 hours. That sounded better to me. So I went and picked up this extra one so we could get it done all at once. If this isn't enough, I also have my Instant Pot, which is an electric pressure cooker, which is great for cooking food, but you cannot use it to do the canning. process. We will use these later to can the bone broth. You cannot use an Instant Pot or an electric pressure cooker to do actual canning. It is just for cooking food faster. So let's look at these bones. They sound like they're sizzling in here. I've never made bone broth before. And when Mark was cutting up the bones, I gotta be honest, it was kind of an unappealing smell. So I was getting a little bit turned off, but as they've been baking, the smell is actually good. It actually smells like biscuits baking to me. So not a bad smell, thankfully. I'm grateful for that. I'm gonna leave the bones in there, get the pressure cookers ready, and get them on the stove for the next couple hours. You always wanna make sure that your seal of your pressure cooker is intact. You want to make sure that there's nothing blocking the steam vent. It's always a good idea to do a little inspection of your pressure cooker before putting it on your stove. You want to be safe. Also, never get rid of your pressure cooker handbook. You will always need it every single time, just to reference. It's so helpful. Miss Luna is always nearby, needs to come inspect what Mom is doing. I am choosing not to add any other vegetables to this because it's going to be cooking for so long it can turn bitter, is what I read. So just gonna do the bones, and then when we make our soups and stuff, we can add a bunch of other goodies. Now we just wait to let it get up to pressure. It said that we don't have to let the steam escape since we're actually just cooking stuff. If we were canning, we would make sure that the steam could escape for 10 minutes before we started letting it get up to pressure. So we're just gonna let these babies do their thing. We're looking for about 14 to 15 pounds of pressure for 2 hours. So they will need babysitting, but I can get things done around the kitchen. All right, so this one has gotten up into pressure. This one's working on it. I don't know why that one was slower, but we're getting there. Can probably start our 2-hour timer pretty soon here. All right, it's been 2 hours. I just turned off the heat. These pressure canners are now dropping in pressure. Just gonna let them do that naturally. Takes quite a while because there's a lot of liquid in here. We started out right around 15. We're almost to 10. And then we'll strain this bone broth. So I'm fishing out the bigger bones and we're letting them strain over here. And then once we get the big chunks out, it's gonna get strained through a metal sieve plus some cheesecloth because we've gotta get out any little bits of bones and things that might have fallen off. I'm surprised by the amount of oil there is in this because moose are so lean, but there definitely is a bit of fat in here. And so we gotta let it cool and then we'll be able to skim that fat off the top before we can it. But this is pretty cool. This is hollow now. That marrow got cooked out.
There's still like marrow in some of these here.
Yeah. They said though that this is like why they created bone broth like back in the day because they couldn't keep the meat long enough. You know, they couldn't have meat through the winter often, and so you get a lot of the nutrients that you get from meat from this broth too. Huh.
So when we do the canning, we're not supposed to have that oil?
Well,
it looks like a thick layer. I mean, there's like a centimeter or half inch.
I think you can keep that to cook with.
Oh, okay.
But you don't want to can it.
Moose is generally so lean. I'm surprised. Okay, let me.
I don't know. We just got to work together to. Mark and I worked together to strain the 2 pressure canners full of broth. The process took a bit as the cheesecloth would get clogged with debris. Finally, we had it all strained and ready to cool. We were really blown away by how greasy the broth is since moose tends to be such a lean meat. Our fingers were really greasy. Here's where we're at with the broth. We've got 1, 2, 3, and then this whole bowl, it has to cool overnight. Luckily, it's cold enough outside, we can cool it out there. And then we will skim the fat off tomorrow and pressure can them all. And Mark has another moose project here.
I have the tongue of the moose here in this bag. I put some salt, some brown sugar, some pickling spices, and a little liquid smoke. And I'm just kind of massaging it right now, making sure all this juice in there, that's from the salt drawing out the liquid from the tongue. And I'm just curing this. We're gonna leave this for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then I'll pull it out and we'll boil it and cook it up.
I don't think we've ever done that before.
I've cooked some tongues before, but never this. My father has done it this way for many years, and so I'm giving it a shot.
There's a first for everything. First for making bone broth, and first time we're doing the tongue.
I mean, the tongue is huge too. There's like 3 pounds or something right here.
These trash cans with these bones in them are so heavy. Oh my gosh. I can hardly lift this
Don't
bag.
let that break.
Oh gosh. It is time for day 2 of moose bone broth. I'm gonna go get it off the porch, and we have to skim the fat off the top. I guess the fat makes it so it wouldn't heat properly all the way through, so we gotta skim the fat off, which it's moose meat, so there shouldn't be too much fat, but we were surprised by how much fat there was for an animal that just eats sticks and leaves. So we have 2 different ones here. You can see on this one, the fat layer is a lot thicker than this one because this was poured off the top first and then this was poured later on. So this one has a lot more fat that we're gonna skim off. Now I haven't found out if there's anything you can do with the fat. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research, but you gotta get it out before you can it. So this is exactly what we were looking for. The collagen breaks down and it kind of turns into a gelatin. Like, this is good stuff, you guys. I'm excited about this. And it's actually been less work than I imagined it was gonna be. I feel like I took way too much off that, but oh well. And from what I've read, leaving a little bit of fat is not gonna do any harm. It's just if there was a ton of it. Okay, I'm actually gonna there's a good inch on this one. Kind of cool if you could get it out in one piece. What? Okay, I gotta get a plate. This is incredible. And then we're left with the good stuff. I like that. I've loaded up the dishwasher with jars. I'm gonna get that started so that they're sanitized and ready to go. I feel like I just made a 2-layer cake out of moose fat. Oh, how funny. It looks like a block of cheese or a cake. For the next step, I'm going to be putting the bone broth back into a big pot. It has to boil so we can put it in the jars and then pressure can them. Lots of little steps, not too hard, but I'm learning. Once the jars were sanitized and the broth was boiling, I was able to put the hot broth into the hot jars. Mark was in charge of wiping off the rim so that the jars get a good seal. Then he finger tightened the rings onto the canning lids. Then it was time to put them in the pressure canner. Each canner holds 7 quarts at a time. All right, here is where I am at. I've got 1 pressure cooker That's just about up to pressure. We need to get to 11 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes. This one, I'm waiting, it's steaming. It has to steam for 10 minutes before we can put the little cap on and then get it up to pressure. I've got the third batch in here staying hot. We're gonna be adding it hot into the hot water, so you have to keep it hot. You can't put cold jars into hot boiling water or it'll just explode. So quite the little factory going on right here. The boys all went on a bike ride. This has to be babysat, so I had to stay home and get this project done. Can you see why once winter hits, we're like, we're ready for a little break? Summer, we go nonstop. Fall is hunting, processing, preserving. And then once winter hits, I am ready for a break. So pressure canning is a little bit more involved than water bath canning, which you may have seen me do back in my apple video. If not, you can go check that one out. But I have to stay in here and make sure it stays at pressure. This one is about 20 minutes in. This one hasn't even gotten to pressure yet, so you just have to keep an eye on them. Luckily, I've gotten all the dishes done. Got some more over here. I'm about to sweep. I'm keeping an eye on everything, but at least I can get the kitchen cleaned up while they're processing. Round one is done. I can get them out. Oh, and Miss Luna's here to say hello. Hi, sweetheart. You hear the popping, that's a good sign. It means they're sealing up. Okay, I'm gonna grab these ones out and round 3 is gonna get started.
All right, another way we're taking care of our moose meat is I corn some of it. You might like corned beef, you know, corned moose, same sort of thing. So here I've got this bucket here. I've got this bucket outside. See if I can open it up. All right, so I mixed up some brine inside. So that was salt, curing salt, pickling spices, and some sugar. And here we got it. Here the meat is soaking. Every day I come out and I rotate this meat, and so it's getting cured. After about 10 days, I'll pull it out and we'll freeze some of it and some will cook. So we found this really, really tasty, and it gives a really bright, nice pink corn meat color. So.
Then what's 9 times 3? 18.
Huh?
27.
So now we're just doing the waiting game. Let this cure, and then we'll cook it up. And since it is cool enough out here, I just keep it in a food grade bucket and I keep it in the shed. It's about 40 degrees, 40 to mid 30s. So.
Look what I got.
Whoa.
Pull me down.
Pull you down?
Yeah, what's 19 times 6?
19 times 6? Well, it's double what I just told you. 114.
114.
Woo! You're ready for snow, huh?
All right, the jars sat overnight. A lot of the recipe blogs that I was reading about bone broth called it liquid gold. It sure took some effort, but I think we're really gonna like having it. So right now I'm taking off all the rings. You should be able to lift a jar by just the lid. You don't wanna leave the rings on because if something happened and it didn't seal properly, you don't want it to be hidden by this ring on there. So you gotta take them off. Then I am using a rag and wiping down the jars just so they look nicer. And then I'm gonna label them and we're gonna store them away and start using them to make soups and broths and all sorts of yummy gravies. I don't know, what else? I'm sure we'll come up with lots of things to use this liquid gold bone broth. Mark did cook up the moose tongue one evening after dinner. I just forgot to pull out the camera to show all of you. We all tasted it, and to be honest, it was amazing. Once you got over the fact that it was tongue, it was some of the best meat I have ever tasted. It was so flavorful, almost like a baby back rib meat. Mark is great at being creative with moose meat so that we never get tired of eating it.
Okay, so it's been 10 days. It's morning. I'm getting ready to go to work, but I am pulling out this corned meat. It has been soaking in this brine for 10 days, and we're ready to cook it now. I think we got enough here. This is brisket and some other pieces. I'm gonna pull this out, we can cut it. Look at that.
I am candy.
All right, we got a big slab of meat here. We're gonna cut this up, get it going.
I want to see today if I can give you 20 points for getting yourself dressed. Let's see if you can do it. On your mark, get set, go.
So I can totally see that the curing salts have cured deep into this. So you can see how it's kind of that dark red. That's that sodium nitrate. When it goes in, it converts, it gives it that pink color. Okay, so we're just gonna rinse this off real quick.
Why is it hot?
Oh, it's hot because I plugged it in a little bit ago. It started going. Okay, I got a little bit of water in there.
Yeah, it's burning, Dad.
It won't. It's steaming. I'm sure that's steam. Okay, and the final thing I'm adding for the cooking process, we're adding a little bit of sugar in here. Gonna mix this all up.
That's cool.
Yeah, Everett, this is our mousse, our corn mousse.
Oh.
Yep. Put it in there. I'm gonna let that cook all day while I'm at work. Should be nice and good when I come back. And the rest of the stuff here in this bucket, we're gonna just pull out here, rinse off, and freeze for other.
And winter.
For later.
And for winter.
Yep. And what?
And for winter.
Yep, that's right. Do you like corn mousse?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're gonna like it. It's really good.
Mousse processing 2.0 continues. Mark left me with the corned beef. This one smells amazing cooking in the crock pot. Looking really good. Oh, can't see that. Looking really, really good. Wish you could smell it. Gonna make some potatoes to go with that a little later. I gotta get this other piece of meat cut up and put into a couple bags so we can put them in the freezer and have corned mousse a couple more times this year. It has really nice color on the inside, which means that the brining process worked. It looks like corned beef. Moose meat is not free. We pay for it with our time, airplane fuel, ammunition, time spent teaching our children, planning out hunts, and preparing for them. Hunting is hard work, but it is something that we think is worth our time, money, and effort. Each time we get an animal when hunting or fishing, we are so grateful, and we do our best to take really good care of these precious resources. We got 4 more meals out of this corned beef, it looks like. Yum, yum.
Okay, moment of truth. We're gonna pull out our corned meat. Oh man, look at that. Slice it up. Oh, it smells good.
That's good, Dad.
You like it? Cool, I'll take it here. I gotta slice it. Where's Hunter? We need to call him for dinner. Oh, look at that.
Can you go down here, Hunter?
Look at that bright red color on it. So good, it's like candy. Yum.
This time it's good.
You like it?
I like it.
So good. Okay.
I go sitting
Let me just cut it a little bit. Oh, I gotta cut it against the grain here.
a little decorate.
Test this out. It's good. Perfect. It's not too salty. Wanna try some, Everett? What do you think?
Chewy?
Chewy.
Good. Good.
This way?
Okay. Where's Hunter? Doing homework or something? Look at that plate.
Just in case you are wondering, we have had several failed meat experiments in the past. Too salty, underbrined, not smoked long enough. So every time we get a good meal like this, we are grateful and happy to have another skill under our belts for cooking our game meat. We ate the corned beef. The bone broth is put away in the garage. I do have one more moose project that I want to do, but it can wait. I want to take the little bit of moose meat that's left from last year, the steaks and the roast, and I want to can that so that we can add that meat into soups and casseroles and things like that. But I'm a little bit worn out, so I'm gonna give myself a couple weeks before I do that. So Moose Processing 2.0 is coming to an end. Thank you so much for being here. We are so grateful for each and every one of you. We love you, and we'll see you again real soon for more of This Alaska Life.